Books on Books on the Brain.
Welcome back to Books on the Brain, a podcast of books and nonsense. My name is Danielle,
And my name is Deirdre.
and we are back again with another episode. How you doing, Dee?
Good. I have the craziest story to tell you guys.
Okay, I've been waiting. Tell
I texted Danielle earlier because I forgot that we were recording today, and I was about to tell her this story of what happened to me today, and then I was like, wait, I get to tell everybody. Oh, okay. So I'm getting ready to go on my trip. So I was doing my big errand run,
Yeah.
how we do like 2 days before. It doesn't matter the kind of trip you're going on. I feel like everybody has that like run to the store. I need like these 5 things, right? So I was like doing my Sephora pickup because I'm converting to doing these like makeup removing pads for when I travel. I'm gonna give them a try for this trip because it's only a 3-day commitment. It's not like a long commitment. And then we'll see if I can like get out of using oil when I'm traveling because it's just like a lot to travel with. And I'm trying to like, I love being able to travel and just do my stuff, but also I do like to pare down just a little bit. So anyway, I'm in my zone, I'm running my errands, and I was trying to go bra shopping. I saw that there was this store, at least it was on the map. Turns out, spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. It's not a real store. So I was like going to this place I'd never been before, and it's in an area of the city that I don't know that well. It's like on the side of Midtown. So I'm walking, I'm listening to my audiobook, and I'm just like checking my map. And then honestly think what happened was I didn't eat lunch. I had so little water. So I'm like getting really overstimulated really quick. And I'm just like, get me to this place. And every once in a while, when I go to cross the street, I mistake the signs and I like catch myself because I try to go when it's not my time. But I think it just is what happens when you live in a walkable city. Like when I'm just like in the mood to go.
Yeah.
I gotta go. So I take a step. It was probably just like a normal in my gait step into the street.
Yeah.
I process that it is not my time to go. There are cars going, and then I look to my right, and there is an e-bike barreling towards me. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm trying to process so quick. Do I take a step in and like stand between the cars and this bike to go by, or do I take a step back? And as I'm processing this, he is flying up this street. I don't have time to process. So the next thing I know, I'm just like, just brace. I was like, don't move. And I literally just like, I had my phone in my hand and I just like kind of twisted my body and like grabbed the handlebars of this moving bike and like fully stopped this bike with my body. I'm
so
fine.
strong.
I'm fine. I think the most I had on me was like a little redness. It's like maybe there's going to be a bruise here on my arm tomorrow.
But you're a hero.
And I was so shaken, right? Because like it was 100% my fault. Like I can totally acknowledge that I should not have been in the crosswalk, but also you also have eyes, buddy. Slow down because if it was a normal bike, I would have had plenty of time to get out of the way, but these e-bikes go so fast. Like I could write a whole dissertation on why e-bikes are not good for this city. It literally I was like, oh my God. And then I'm like checking myself, right? I'm like, okay, I don't have any broken bones. I feel fine. My phone isn't broken because I like used a phone to like brace this bicycle. And the man, like, he gets off and he's like looking at his bike and he doesn't say a word.
Looks at his bike.
I'm so ready for him to be like, what the fuck were you doing? Like, get out of the crosswalk, get out of the street. Like, didn't you see me coming? He didn't say a word. So I'm looking at him and I was like, I'm really sorry. That was all my fault. You were just going so fast. I didn't have time to get out of the way. I'm fine. Thanks for asking. I braced your bike with my whole body. And he's not even looking at me. And then he gets on his bike to leave. And I looked at him and I was like, are you okay? Like, did I hurt you? And he was like, no, I'm fine. And he just drove away. And
Say something.
I was like, I really just need you to vocalize anything.
Yell at me at this point.
And I get that, like, at least in New York, majority of
Yeah.
delivery drivers don't speak English.
Okay, sure.
Just the something I have witnessed as somebody that orders food a lot,
Yeah,
um, is they don't speak English at all, or they don't speak it well.
sure.
So I was obviously giving him that space. Also, I can absolutely acknowledge that I am a white woman and you don't know what white women are going to do in
Fair.
circumstances like that. Like I really tried to like back up from him and just be like, "Are you okay?
I
I'm
am so sorry.
fine.
My
It's
fault.
my fault.
My
One,
bad.
I can take responsibility. It's my fault. Um, I'm not going to pay to fix your bike because you also drove into me and you have two eyes.
And also, it should not have damaged his bike. Like,
No,
there's no way.
I'm not the Incredible Hulk. Let's
No,
freaking for
you are
real.
not.
Um, but I was like, hello? And then he left, and then all of the adrenaline starts like shooting through my body, right? So I can like feel myself shaking, but I'm like, I have to cross this street. I have to go to this bra store.
I'm looking for this impossible to find bra shop.
And there's this man who watched the whole thing happen. He was standing on the curb and he comes over to me and he was like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. I just was not expecting that to happen. He was just going so fast. And then he, bless him, was like started going on his own rant about the bikes. And I was like, I I think most of us that are exclusively pedestrians in this city have a big bone to pick with the delivery drivers. Oh, right. So I'm still on the same side of the street, and then
Yeah.
the light changes. He's still ranting. I'm like, I need to cross the street. And then this woman who had been standing on the other side of the street, who had also witnessed it happen, she stopped and she was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yes, I'm fine. I That was just a lot." And she was like, "The same exact thing happened to me yesterday with a scooter." And I was like, "That's crazy."
That is
Um,
crazy.
So then I went on my merry way and I went to the address that said it was a store, but looking at the place, I was like, I don't think retail establishment is in this building. And they had like doormen. And I was like, is it a store? And they were like, no, you needed an appointment. So I was like, okay. So I don't know if it's like I'm gonna try calling the brand again because I find it weird that they would have like a design studio in New York. Like I genuinely wonder if it's just
Yeah.
an appointment only based place, which is totally fine. I just wish that they had that like wide open on their website, you know?
Super, yeah. That is super strange. That is super strange. Also, that yeah, I don't know why it would show up as a business if you have to do it by appointment. That's so silly. And also crazy that that woman was like, yeah, that happened to me yesterday.
Literally. So like all of this is happening in my brain. I'm like
Yes.
starting to shake and I was like, I still have more errands to run. And I didn't eat or drink anything for another hour and a half
Dude,
after that happened.
you're
So
loco.
that's why I have a margarita, because I deserve it.
True.
Also because like I don't know if I'm gonna wake up tomorrow and something in my body is gonna be like,
Not happy.
actually, you hurt yourself really bad. So
Oh my gosh. Well, I hope freaking not.
I
I
hope
hope
I
not.
I think it's just my usual like twinges. And I
Yeah.
took a yoga class tomorrow morning, so hopefully that'll kind of like loosen me up.
Yeah. Heck yes.
You know? It was a very funny moment to be like, okay, just I was like, brace for impact.
You're like, all right, this is all I can do.
What we're doing.
This is all I can do.
So that was my day.
Amazing.
Oh, and
My,
then wait.
tell me, tell me.
I had this crazy interaction in CVS. So I go in specifically to get a setting spray from NYX, but not every CVS carries NYX or has a good amount of stuff from them. This just happens to be one of the bigger CVS, so I kind of figured,
Nice.
okay. And I have to go up to a second floor in this one. And there's a security guard up there. So, say hello as I come onto the floor. And then I'm just kind of like walking through the gondolas in the beauty section.
Yeah.
And like, can I help you find anything? And I was like, I'm looking for the brand NYX. And he was like, oh, no, sorry. And I was like, it's fine. I'll find it. And then I like keep looking. And there's other stuff I'm looking for too. Like I wanted to look at some of the press-ons. Like I'm just casually looking through the beauty section.
We're shopping.
I didn't know I needed to come into CVS with an agenda. So then he starts like calling over to me and he's like, is there something specific you're looking for? And I'm like in the middle of an aisle and I poke my head out and I was like, what? And he was like, are you looking for something specific? And I'm like, yeah, I'm looking for a setting spray. And he was
Yeah.
like, no, no, no. What item are you looking for? And I was like, yeah, I'm looking, and my voice is getting louder as this is happening. So I'm like screaming at this point in the middle of CVS, I'm looking for a setting spray. And he was like, no, like eyeliner, lipstick. I was like, the item I am looking for is a setting. And at this point, I'm like, I should just walk away and tell him to mind his own fucking business. I'm not trying to steal from this CVS. I'm just trying to buy a setting spray. And he was like looking so confused. And I was like, dude, leave me alone. And I'm like screaming at this point. And this woman comes up to me and she was like, can I help you? And I was like, do you have?
No.
She was like, it's right over here. And I was like, great. Thank you so much.
Can I help you? Please don't.
Please
Actually,
don't.
don't help me.
I apparently need to teach this man what setting spray is.
Don't help me. I don't want to be helped by you.
I
That
was
is
like, what?
sorry. It's like a lipstick. What lipstick are you looking for?
I was like,
Say it to me one more time.
buddy, how many times do I have to say it?
That is so
I
funny.
was like,
But I hope that man found the lipstick he was looking for. I don't know.
I was like, what is happening? And then he must have been like changing shifts or something. So he walked past me when I was like farther onto the floor and he was like, hey, I'm really sorry. I was like, it's cool. Get away from me.
Don't talk to me. It's actually not cool. Don't talk to me.
I don't care. I just want to pay for my stuff and leave. Like I am at my wit's end. I'm getting hangry now. Like the thought of getting food is getting farther and farther away because I'm like, I could either buy something to eat in this CVS and it's not going to be satisfying, or I could wait another 30 minutes when I get to Trader Joe's and buy something that's going to be satisfying. So I'm like, I'm just going to sit in my hanger, which is never fun. But I was like, please leave me alone.
You know that man was trying to be helpful, and you're like, shut
Yes. And he
up.
was very nice and he was very cute, but I was like, please, please leave
Maybe he was flirting with
me
you.
alone. Are you flirting?
You're screaming, I'm looking for setting spray.
Like,
Wait, are you flirting with me?
now is not the time, sir. Now is not the time.
When would it be? When's a better time? When you got a girl in the middle of an aisle of the CVS, red in the face, screaming at you about setting spray.
Just got hit by a bike.
I know. Trying to find a bra store that doesn't exist.
Literally, like just the snowball of a day.
That's a rom-com. That's a meet cute book waiting to happen. I think you just had a meet cute.
Should I write it?
Except for it wasn't cute and you didn't really meet him. You had to.
I just yelled at him.
Just yelled at a worker at CVS.
Which checked out because, like, if we were to break down like archetypes, I am the grump. Like,
oh, in that situation, sure.
Don't talk to me. I don't want to make new friends.
Someone write it. Someone write that down. Someone write this story. I'll read the fanfic. Deirdre and the CVS security guard. Cute. Cute. That is so funny.
It was so funny.
Well, my day was a heck of a lot less eventful than yours. I just had work, just working my little bum off. Well, I'll talk about more of it in our catch-up episode that comes out first, but I have a teaching gig, so I'm working full-time, which is so fun. But recently I got a tattoo on my arm. Sneak peek.
If you're watching the video on YouTube, you'll be able to see it.
He's a little ghost in like a floral sheet. He's pretty cute. But I have been mostly wearing like long sleeves while it's healing. But now it's summertime. It's not, it's spring. But it's summerish. It's short sleeve season here in Calgary. So I started wearing things so the kids can see my tattoo. My kids haven't noticed it. They could care less. But a little boy in grade 2 walked by me and he was like, "Why do you have a tattoo?" And I said, "Because I like you." He's like, "What is it?" And I was like, "It's a ghost." And I like pull up my sleeve. I'm like, "It's a ghost." He's like, "Why?" And I was like, "Because I like it." He was like, "Okay." I was like, I had to stop myself from being like, "Well, do you like it? Do you think it's good? Do you like it, little boy?" Because I was like, affirm me, affirm me, affirm me.
Oh, always.
But no, in my classroom I have 3 EAs and they are like the lights of my life. Educational assistants, they are the best people in the world. But I came back, I got the tattoo for my birthday for my 30th. And I was like, "Look at my tattoo." And all of them were like, one of them was so excited. And the other was like, "It's nice on you." I was like, "No." I would never get something like that. I'm like, "I know you wouldn't."
It's nice.
But then she shows up today with dyed like yellow green neon hair. And I was like, "I think you would get a tattoo, Miss Girl."
Yeah, hello.
I think you would. I was like, "I think you're cooler than you think you are." Because that's pretty cool.
I think the crossover of people that dye their hair and people that get tattoos is a circle.
And that's what I'm saying. I'm like, the fact that my hair is a normal person color right now is shocking. It's actually not shocking. I think curly hair only looks good with certain colors. And that's my hot take.
Well, I think you have to have a dyer that really understands curly hair for it to be successful.
Agreed. Because if not, it look like if you try to get highlights, it just looks crazy sometimes. You know what I'm really into? Calico hair. Have you seen that online? The calico trend?
Oh, but I will now.
Yeah, fine. Look it up. Yeah. Calico, Calico. It's kind of like calico cats.
Yeah.
So it's like big chunks of color. I think it's so pretty. I think it might look absolutely atrocious on curly hair, but I think it looks so pretty.
Yeah.
So who knows? Next time you see me, no, I won't.
I have hair.
I don't have the money to do this thing. Speaking of no money, what are we doing today? Has nothing to do with what we're doing.
We are bringing back a segment that is a tried and true of this podcast. It's a book report. We have each brought a story to tell you guys, or some news, or some history. The prompt is wide open.
Sure is.
So I went for something that is very neutral. It is neither good nor bad. It's just fun. And
yeah, mine's also like a little silly, but not super heavy.
Yeah.
Our first book report back, I was like, keep it fun, keep it light.
Yeah, I was like, I also need to go back and make a list of all the past ones we've done.
Don't get me started, because I thought about it and I was like, I'm
gonna
I was like, I'll for sure I'm going to. I'm like, there's a 50% chance that the story's already been told, and I don't remember. But you know what?
We've been doing this since season 1, baby.
I know. And I'm like, it's been how many years? 4 years, 5 years, 10 million years? We're allowed to do reboots, reprises. Would you like to go first, or would you like me to go first?
What would you like to do?
It's no matter, you pick.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
Okay, everybody. This is the bookish contraptions we all want.
Okay, thank goodness. Because I was like, this is going to be the time that we do the same thing, but we did not do the same thing.
So This comes from an article published by Slate back in February called The Ascendance of the Book Ladder. And then Book Riot expanded on it. So this is kind of like a TLDR slash short story, or short history rather, of the book accessories that feel right at home in the library of Belle and the Beast.
Ooh.
So, do you know what a book wheel is?
No.
Well, I'm going to tell you. And there'll be a photo on our Instagram. So we're going back to the 16th century, which is the 1500s.
Okay.
The Italian military engineer Agostino Ramelli invented basically a Ferris wheel that's for old tomes.
Okay. Like a lazy Susan, but the other way. Sure.
Yeah, it's a Ferris wheel.
Crazy.
So
Okay.
there's a wheel, right? I'm gonna visualize it for you. And there are shelves. And the shelves hold the books so you can leave them open and like move the wheel. The books are already open for you. And
Okay, sure.
you have access to each book. The shelves are maintained at a 45-degree incline and the books stay securely held.
Okay. I'm following.
The wheel was a tool for producing early encyclopedias and editions of classic works, especially in research places where they would need to have multiple books open at once while gathering information.
Sure,
And they
sure, sure.
actually just recreated this at the Roselle Hope Robbins Library at the University of Rochester. So,
Whoa.
you feel like going to see it or you attend the University of Rochester, you can go see one and potentially use it, which is so cool. So, according to Canonberry Antiques, oh wait, that's it. I'm about to move on to a new topic. I did not start.
Mhm.
So that's the book wheel. How fun,
That's crazy.
right?
So,
And it's huge. Like
yeah, I guess that's like, I'm imagining a little thing, but I'm like, it must be ginormous.
it's big. Yeah. And like the books are able to be open. So like I'll visualize it for you here. So you've got like book open here, book open here, and they just like come to you.
That's
And like travel like on a Ferris wheel.
It's beautiful.
How fun.
It is. It's so interesting. Okay.
Like what an invention for them to be like, we need this.
This is a problem we need to solve, that we can't just get another table and put our book on it.
We need like 10 books open at once and we can't have them taking up table space.
And that's it. Couldn't possibly.
Absolutely not.
It's awesome.
And I'm like, you know how I do that thing where sometimes when I'm starting a new batch of books, I'll like the first chapter of each book,
Yes.
I'll go in order. I'm like, I need a book wheel for those moments.
And like I could see how it could be applicable, or even like you're cooking and you have like your cookbook and then the book you're reading and you're like right?
Yes. See?
Applicable. University of Rochester, get on marketing that.
Get on it. I mean, it's
You guys
huge.
can make some
Like
money.
it's when you see the pictures, it is massive.
Crazy.
It's wild.
Like Disneyland.
Yeah, for book lovers.
Aw. Mhm.
So now we're going to move on to sort of like the evolution of the book ladder. But
Yeah.
first, we're going to start with library steps. So, according to Canterbury Antiques, library steps first appeared in Europe in the mid 1700s. So, we have stepped up from the library wheel and we are moving on to library steps. And these
Okay.
devices made it easier to reach books on higher shelves because for a long time, shelves were not floor to ceiling. And then all of a sudden, like libraries were becoming more expansive and they needed to be able to reach taller shelves. So these can be ladders, obviously, but they can also be metamorphic objects that serve as tables, chairs, and storage, and then fold out into a ladder.
Metamorphic. What a 25-cent word. Ooh.
I know. You would get so many points in Scrabble for using that word.
In your what was Words with Friends? Put it in. Do you remember Words with Friends?
Yeah.
Many moons. Many moons.
I know.
See,
what was I gonna every thought just left my brain. Oh, I don't know
Sorry.
if anybody saw my my expansive Christmas wish list where I was like, this is me reaching for the stars. I want a chair ladder so badly. And it's like a chair and then the top folds down and it's a ladder.
So fun.
It's in my New York apartment. That makes sense. I need metamorphic objects.
Well, how are you? You do because what if your fire escape one day didn't work? How else are you gonna get out?
You're asking the real questions.
Thank you. What if there's an e-bike speeding down the street and you need to stop it with your metamorphic chair ladder?
I was thinking I can't have a rolling ladder at my bookshelf because that would
Yeah.
be too cluttery. So I have a chair all the time and I have a ladder sometimes.
And also, isn't your apartment a little bit sideways?
Yeah. She's a little slanted.
I mean, whose apartment is perfectly straight? Nobody's. Get real. Get a life.
Especially
Nobody is. No.
So in the second half of the 1700s, there were several talented cabinet makers from Germany that worked in the French court. And these designers originated some of the most finely made mechanical furniture. Same idea as metamorphical. I just say.
Yeah, no, it's great. You're killing it.
The metamorphic. Yeah.
Yeah. No, you got it.
Um, So same idea. It's like mechanical furniture.
Yeah.
In Louis the 15th and 16th courts.
Slut.
As these designs from France made their way across the English Channel back to England, cabinet makers copied and improved upon them. So in this process, they designed really like standout mechanical furniture, which is in a lot of museum collections now.
Okay.
Much like on the what's it called? Auction market.
Ooh.
Um, so then we've got this sort of like building of mechanical metamorphic furniture happening, but it's in stationary places, right? French
Sure.
court, libraries, research centers, churches, probably. But throughout history, we've had armies and traveling dignitaries that used to travel with as much of their own household as possible. Like, I don't
But yeah.
know how many people are kind of aware that, like, they used to bring everything they could with them when they would
Yeah.
go places. So, as these mechanical furnishings developed, they became essential to British Army officers who could bring portable furniture pieces that packed as flatly as possible.
It's beautiful.
So then we come to 1774. Okay, so
Sorry.
in so cut to 1774, Robert Campbell is a cabinet maker and he patents designs for both chairs and tables that can double as these library steps. And like the phrase library steps is now showing up in history
So
as
cool.
a thing. So now we come to the rolling ladder. And America's oldest rolling ladder maker is the century-old Putnam Rolling Ladders. They credit Etienne Avril, a Frenchman, with inventing the first dedicated book ladder. The ladder
Ooh,
was made up of two rails that could be attached to the bookcases and a series of rungs that could be moved up and down the rails. And the ladder could be moved along the bookcases as needed, allowing readers to access books on high shelves with ease. And it was soon adopted by libraries and book collectors all over the world.
that's so crazy that it was so long ago.
And that's it. That's my little history of
That's
book-ish contraptions.
like to think that something that people still like lust over in 2025 is something that was made in the 1700s is
Right?
crazy.
Right?
So cool. And the Ferris wheel book thing.
I know. The Ferris wheel book thing was really, it was tucked at the very, excuse me, it was
You're
tucked
okay.
at the very bottom of that Slate article, like just
Yeah.
as a side thing. And I was like, hang on. I need to know more about this book wheel.
You're like, circle back, please. Excuse me, more info. That's so. Imagine, picture this. You get a book wheel so big that you need a rolling ladder to like get up and spin it.
I do think that defeats the purpose.
No, no, I don't think so. The purpose is to be cool, and I think it's still no, it absolutely defeats the purpose.
A book wheel so big it fits your whole collection on it, really, I think is the goal.
And then you can be like, I'm always rereading everything, just a page at a time.
A page at a time. A page.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
How many books on a book wheel? How many books on a book wheel would be too many books to read simultaneously, in your opinion?
As a casual reader or as a researcher?
Casual, not as a researcher. Researcher, you could have a gazillion and it would be fine.
Yeah.
As a casual fiction
Literally the
reader.
physical version of keeping tabs open.
Oh, for sure. So how many do you think as a fiction reader?
I mean, I read 3 books at a time. Sometimes
Sure.
I read 5.
Yep.
So I feel like no more than 7.
Okay.
10 feels like too many. 10 feels like you're reaching. 7 also feels like you're reaching, but I could kind of see where if you play around with the amount of genres you have on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like you said, cookbook.
I did say cookbook. And we haven't even talked about audiobooks. There's just an empty perch for the audiobook. It's like just
Verse.
yeah. It's just like a little plaque that's like audiobook. I can confidently say 2 books, maybe 3 at max.
Okay, cool.
2, like 2. What'd you say?
I was like, are we reaching? Like
Confidently 2. Especially if they're in the same genre. Confidently 2. I could read 2 at
I almost never read 2 books of the same genre at the same time.
It just everything gets
I get confused.
It gets so mucky. All the small towns merge into one romance, and everyone's in love. Everyone's a farmer. It's just too much.
Wow.
Or everyone's a fighting fae in some faraway world, and you're like, okay, you guys, we can't all just have names that start with this. Come on, enough. Yeah, confidently 2, maybe 3 if they're on different genres.
Okay.
And one's an audiobook. Great job.
Thanks.
ASMR clap. That even picked up. Okay, ready for this?
I'm so excited. I'm ready to sit back
Masterpiece.
and roll back.
Okay, this is something I'm formally calling the OG fanboy. Do you know Hans Christian Andersen?
Yeah, of course. He wrote My Lovely Lady.
He did write Your Lovely Lady. Your Wee Little Mermaid. And do you know Charles Dickens?
Oh.
He wrote Christmas Carol. Yeah.
And
I said
that's right.
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I only know Oliver Twist as the musical, so I've never actually read the book. Have you read the book?
No. I have also only seen
Musical's great.
musicals. Great.
What's the little boy saying? He sings, "Where is love? Does it come up eyes above? Is it underneath the willow tree?" It's
But
beautiful.
have you seen Oliver and Company?
Of course I have. Who do you think I am? Of course I've seen Oliver and Company.
Just checking.
Of course. Okay. So this is called the OG fanboy. So picture this: London,
Okay.
1847. 1847. London, England. Pardon me, are you Hans Christian Andersen, sir? No, I can't do that. A whole Hamilton remake with my story. Okay, so Hans Christian Andersen is still like an up and coming guy. He is like specifically to the English world because all of his works were translated from Danish. So they were like, he was just getting hot in London, you know? He gets invited to a party. And you would not believe who's in attendance.
Is it Charles Dickens?
It's Charles Dickens. And Andersen loses his mind. Andersen is a huge fan of Charles Dickens. Allegedly. We weren't there.
At every influencer event when there's an author.
Literally. But the thing is, Hans Christian Andersen is also an author at the time. I guess it's like it would be the same as like a huge veteran of the field, and then you're like an up and comer, like, ooh. I could get that. But he loses his mind. He goes up to Dickens. He's like, you are the greatest writer of all time. And Dickens was like, apparently like, okay, crazy. Thank you, but like, that's a lot. But he's like kind of short with him, kind of dismisses him, whatever. Anderson then writes to his friends in Denmark, and he's like, you guys, Dickens was everything that I hoped for. He's the best. I love him. Not like, and who's to say? Who's to say what kind of love? But like, he really admired Dickens. So then Dickens was like, Dickens. Dickens, a few weeks later, was like, remember that boy that I met? I wonder what I could do to, make it all worse. So he sends him a package of all his books and a nice note being like, aw, thanks for meeting me. #1 fan. That's what the vibe. And this is me interjecting my opinion. I don't think he was actually like #1 fan. But it's giving like, thanks for sending me my headshot. Here's my headshot backside. Okay.
Yeah.
Crazy. Sorry, my mom has called me 3 times. I just need to text her busy.
That's okay.
Mom. Then Anderson's like, it finally happened. He's my friend. So for the next 9 years, Anderson writes Dickens all the time. And Dickens doesn't really write back often. But Anderson's like, my best friend, Charles Dickens, and I, who forever and ever, I love this man. So embarrassing. And basically he's like, okay, as like an open palm, like if you're ever in the area, let me know. You're welcome to stay with me.
Whoa.
I think is it just like I want to be done at this.
Invitation.
And guess what Anderson does?
He takes them up on it, obviously.
Anderson writes this guy in 1857. He's like, and if you're not watching this, every time I say write, I am picking up an imaginary phone and being like, he writes and says, hello. And Anderson writes Dickens and is like, I'm coming to England. Just so happens, only for a fortnight. Can I stay at your place? Dickens is like, sure. He arrives in June 1857 to Gad's Hill with a suitcase. He's ready to move it. He then says to Dickens, my visit is for you alone. Always leave me a small corner in your heart. I get it. If you're meeting your hero and your hero's like giving a little like carrot, I'd be like, sure.
That's more than a carrot.
It is. I think like, and now Hans is starting to get a little bit bigger. Like they're both kind of becoming not monoliths, but like renowned within their thing, right? Hans Christian has a fairy tale, Dickens for fiction, whatever. So, Hans Christian Andersen turns out to be a really bad house guest. Are you shocked or what?
No.
So he's like really rude to Dickinson's family. He's like very uncomfortable and hard to be around. Dickinson said that Dickinson's son. Oh my God. Dickinson's son. I don't know why I chose this story when I can't say Dickens's. Because it's Dickens and then apostrophe another S. Dickens's. Sorry. Own son. He was like, hey, Minnie Dickinson, you're going to shave me daily because that's a Danish culture thing. And Dickens is like, probably not. So he books him at a barbershop instead and is like, you can go there. My son's not going to shave you every day. And then there's this one anecdote that at a dinner party, Dickens had like offered his arm to a woman who was present, and Anderson like slides in and takes his arm himself and like lets him be like chauffeured around for the evening, which I think is just slay. I think that is so funny. I'm like, I know I should not be rooting for like Hans Christian Andersen in this, but I'm like, he is killing me. He's
Yeah.
making me.
He's making me want to root for him.
He's tried so hard to win this, man, and I don't know why he wants to, but man, oh man. Okay, so he said a fortnight, and for those of you who are not aware, a fortnight is 2 weeks. He ends up staying 5 weeks. And Dickens was like, okay, at the time, Dickens was in a play, which I didn't know. I didn't realize he was like an actor also.
Okay.
But he was starring in this play called Little Dorrit. And it wasn't being super well received, but he was really stressed out. And also during this time, he was like having some marital issues. He was like trying to leave his wife. He was maybe having an affair. This whole thing. So he was like, TikTok, dude, get out of my house. It's been 5 weeks. Yeah. So Andersen, at the opening night of at this play, he sits in the audience and he cries so loudly that people start to notice him because he was upset that his attendance wasn't like publicly acknowledged, that people didn't know he was there. I love him.
He's a pick-me.
He's such a pick-me, but I'm like, I think about all the characters he's written. I'm like, of course he's a pick-me. And just wait until later. And it's like the ultimate pick-me behavior. A few things. It gets worse. So then apparently he throws himself onto Dickens' lawn when he has like a tantrum outside in the lawn when he gets a bad review on one of his works, which I was like, fair, dude. When I get a bad mark on something, I also.
Internal?
And just yeah, sure. Sometimes external to the people I trust within the confines of a room.
Yeah.
Not on someone's lawn. As someone whose house I should have left 3 weeks ago. So he's just basically showing odd behavior that Dickens is like, okay, on top of you being weird and like a bad house guest, you're also being a lot. So then Dickens reaches his boiling point. So he starts writing letters to his friends about Andersen. He's like, you guys are never going to believe this. He picks up the phone. Just kidding. He picks up a quill and a parchment and he writes, Dear friends, Andersen is such a little baby. He didn't write this, but this is what I imagine. We were in a taxi or a carriage, whatever the equivalent of it in that time period is. Yeah. And the driver started going a different route. And Andersen started freaking out and started stuffing his like watch and his money in his boots because he thought he was going to be robbed. And Dickinson was just sitting there watching him like, dude, chill. So funny. And then this just makes me laugh. And this was in all of the articles I saw, and I was like, okay, apparently this is a huge deal. Andersen has corns on his feet, and apparently Dickinson hated that. He was like,
problem?
I don't know. I'm like, okay, weird foot thing. It was like he has corns on. I don't know if it's like he's a working man or like whatever. I don't know if there's some kind of like social normative commentary on that.
But like, yeah.
And I'm like, leave that poor man's feet alone.
That's not his fault.
Why are you looking?
The biological thing that happens if your toes rub together.
Why are you looking at his corns? Crazy.
Walking around barefoot in your house?
Yeah, and also like, why are you that close?
Yeah. Yeah.
Back up. And then he said some not so nice things that I will repeat that are basically just insinuating that he doesn't know English very well, that like he doesn't know English, but also he doesn't know Danish really well, and that one of his books, he couldn't even pronounce the title of in English. So he was like, he's a fraud or whatever. And I'm like, he's also Danish, dude. Chill. I'm very much on Andersen's side. And I don't know what Dickinson did to me, but I'm very much on Andersen's side.
I'm rarely on the side of an English man. So
what'd you say?
I'm rarely on the side of an English.
I thought you said I'm firmly, and I was like,
firmly. Yeah. My grandma just rolled over in her grave.
She was like, no. That's why I was like, what? Say that again? Okay. So now, 5 weeks later, he's like writing things in his burn book about Andersen. It's just awful. And then Andersen was like, oh, I've overstayed my welcome. So he leaves in tears. Later, he sends this like heartfelt apology note back to Dickinson, is like, and he says this specifically: kindly forgive the unfavorable aspect which our life together may have shown you of me. It's crazy. And then there was a note left on the guest room mirror where Anderson was staying that said, Hans Christian Andersen slept in this room for 5 weeks, which seemed to the family ages. And then, which is, I'm just like, that is like
That is
high school
so
girl
funny.
graffiti stuff.
Yeah.
Crazy. And then it goes on to say that, like, okay, after this, what was happening? People think that Dickinson based a character off of Anderson, Uriah Heep, which I don't actually know what it's from, but is like a weird, creepy character that people are like, okay, that he's got to have based this off of Anderson. And then Anderson based the ugly duckling on himself, a sensitive outsider. He's like, I'm not even gonna do my hero dirty. I'm the ugly duckling, which I think
a
is
lot of his main characters are based on him. Like I think a lot of people say The Little Mermaid was based on himself.
oh, all of the pick-me's, but like they're like, I'm not like the other girls. I'm lost. No one understands me.
Ugly duckling. Yeah.
Literally. And then that's kind of it. They don't ever really like interact after that. And like it's just this weird 5 weeks that they had together over this 9-year friendship. So strange.
Friendship used so loosely.
Happenstance, I guess. I don't know. They were not friends.
Acquaintanceship.
Basically. The you get a VIP at the meet and greet, and I happen to say, if you're ever in town, DM me and we'll hang out. That's what this was. Yeah. Don't ever meet your heroes, kids.
Unless they're V.E. Schwab.
Yeah, and then meet your hero.
Hero.
Or if your hero's us, then you can meet us.
Ding.
Anyway, that's that. That's my story.
Oh, that's so funny.
It's just like it was like this just a silly little story where I was like, I just had no idea that honestly, like the fact that those people were in the same timeline sometimes still like messes with my head when people are like, I'm like, I can't believe you were alive when this person was alive, kind of thing.
I had no clue. Oh my gosh.
We're both thinking.
It is very funny to look back on moments of human history and to see that there are just like very human reactions that generationally will not change.
No. You look at my son and you say, you need to shave me every morning. I'm going to say, no, go to the barber.
Well, I was going to say writing in the bathroom.
Tomato, tomato. Going to someone's opening night of a play and sobbing because no one pays attention to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy. So funny.
Wild.
So funny.
Why? I would love to know why he even extended an invitation.
I would also, I'm like, maybe it was, I'm going to be nice to him. Like, maybe I'll mentor him. Like, that's what I'm thinking.
Like, we've been talking, and by we've been talking, I mean he's been sending me letters for 9 years. So I feel like I need to extend this olive branch of like hospitality. Like, I don't really know British hospitality culture that well. So
yeah.
I can tell you people do not get invited to my house unless I know them and like them and want them here.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Maybe it was sometimes also people live for the drama. They're like, yeah, you can come over.
True. Yeah, maybe he was being messy.
Maybe he was being messy.
I mean,
Charles
if he was writing to his friends and being like, he doesn't even know the title of his own book because he doesn't know English, like he was being messy.
He has corns on his feet. What a loser.
I cannot even imagine a scenario where I would observe somebody's feet and know that they had corns.
If I've ever seen someone's foot, it's by 100% accident. I've never willingly sought out someone's foot in my life.
No. Not when I sleep over, not when I've had people stay here. Like, I have gone on international trips with friends of mine, and I don't think I have like seen their bare feet.
It's not my business, and I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it. Holy guacamole. Holy guacamole. What are you reading, dude?
So I just finished this afternoon Romancing the Duke by Tessa Dare.
Ooh.
And it's about this girl named Izzy Goodnight. And
Ooh.
she is the daughter of a famous writer in England. And he wrote these like children's nighttime stories. And he passes away and leaves her with nothing. Like, turns out he could not maintain his finances well. He'd never set up any sort of infrastructure for her so that,
Whoa.
and obviously he could tell the older she was getting, she was not having romantic prospects, so she was going to be alone. And they had no family that would take her in. Like, his heir would not have taken her in. So she
What the
essentially
heck?
gets kicked out of her house by her father's heir, who's her cousin. And she winds up hearing from this like solicitor lawyer person who is like,
Yeah.
this man left you something in his will. Please come to this castle and we will bequeath you your inheritance. And she's like, I don't know this person, but it turns out that her father's fans, it's not unheard of for them to gift her things. Like one of them gifted her an ermine, the weasel, because
Yeah.
her character as Izzy Goodnight in his books had an ermine, or like one of the main, I can't remember if it was her that like wanted one or if one of the main characters had one. So then she wound up with this like not domestic animal as a pet.
That's so
And
funny.
like they like give her these like weird things that like have to do with the story. So
Sure.
she gets to this castle and this man greets her and he's like, "What are you doing here?" And she's like, "I'm here to meet Mr. Lawyer." And he's like, "Well, I don't know who that is and you need to leave." And then she faints because she hasn't eaten in like 3 days because she's poor and has nowhere to live. So then he
No.
takes her inside and he's trying to get her to leave. And she's like, "I have nowhere to go. Like, I'm waiting to hear from this guy. Like, who would just like lure me out here into the middle of nowhere?" And then
Yes.
Mr. Lawyer shows up. And it becomes kind of clear to her quickly, not that quickly, but quickly, that
Yeah.
the man that's at this castle has some facial scarring and is blind.
Okay.
So something has happened to him. He's claiming that this is his castle, but he is not being very nice. So we meet Mr. Lawyer, and he's like, "Hey, Duke, I didn't know that you were alive, and neither does anybody else." And he's like, "Well, here I am." And he was like, "Okay, well, it turns out that it looks like your castle was sold to Mr. Benefactor, and he has now bequeathed this castle to Izzy."
Oh my gosh. What?
And she is like, "Yay, I have a home." And the Duke is like, "Get out of my house." Like, he's like, "We have defended this castle for centuries. That's why we have a
Yes.
dukedom. You are not staying here." And she's like, "I have nowhere to go, buddy." And she ends up working it out with him that she can tell that he hasn't really been reading his mail. Like, it's all been piling up, piling up, piling up. And she was like, "I bet there's an explanation for this in there. Why don't you let me be your secretary? Because I was my father's secretary and I understand
Yes.
how to read a lot. I understand how to read, one, but I also understand how to read a lot of different types of mail." And
Yeah.
so he tries to like scare her off because the castle is in disrepair. Like, there's a
Sure.
horde of bats living in one of the bedrooms, and like people have died in the castle. Like, it's old. So it's like
Oh,
haunted kind of, and it's just not really hospitable or a place where you would host people. Like, it's fine for him and his butler, and that's about it.
sure. Yeah.
So she's like, "Please let me stay." And he's like, "You can stay for one night." And then he realizes that it would actually behoove him to let her stay. So he proposes that he will hire her as his secretary and he'll pay her so that when this all gets sorted out, she has money to leave with. He's willing to like do that because she was only bequeathed the castle. So if she wanted money, she would have to
Yeah.
figure out how to get money from the lands that the castle oversees, or she would have to sell the things in the castle and the castle itself, and it's basically worthless. So, she was like, this is good because then I can at least bank a little bit of money. Either I'll wind up with money and a castle,
Yeah.
or I'll wind up with a castle. And so then we go on their little adventure together. And
Mm,
we get to meet some more characters. Like her father was this really, really well-known author. So
yeah.
everybody that meets her is like, oh my God, you're the Izzy Goodnight. Like, can you tell us anything about the story? And she's like, no, my father died before the ending could be published. I'm so sorry. And like, it was literally a cliffhanger. Like, the main woman is trapped somewhere and her hero is like dangling from a cliff.
No.
And so all these people are like, please tell us. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I do not know. And every time she interacts with somebody like this, he's like, who are you? Like, that's not who you are. Why are you putting on an act? And she's like, you don't understand. They just love my dad so much. And they think
Yeah.
I'm this like 9-year-old girl. And he's like, but you're not. You're an adult. Like,
Yeah.
what? And then the like craziest part to me is that the people of England love this series so much that they have created like LARPing based on this series. So they have whole orders and brotherhoods and handmaidenhoods. They make costumes and go to like different tournaments for like jousting and things. And they get to meet a like horde of these people that are traveling to one of these places. And he's like, what is this? And she's like, those are the handmaidens of Cressida. And and he's
Oh, yes.
like, are you kidding? And it's just so funny. And you just feel for him because he like got injured 7 months prior and now he's mostly lost his sight. He's like the type of blind where like if there's a lot of light, he can kind of see like shapes and a little bit of
Sure.
color. But for all intents and purposes, he is blind. And he can't lose his house because he knows where everything is. So he's able to walk
Dang.
everything. Like she makes a comment right at the beginning when she meets him. She's like, he just walked through this room without tripping. She's like, I can't even walk a straight line. And I have two eyes that work fine. And
Yeah.
like you start to get the sense that like everything in the castle is where it has to be so that he
Yeah.
can continue to live his life. Um, and so it was great. It's been a while since I've read a romance, specifically a historical romance with disability rep.
So
Um,
cool.
and I thought it was really well done and just the way everything sort of shook out because then we're still trying to figure out like why was the castle sold? Whose castle is it? Like
Yeah.
why did he get injured? Like was it at war or was it over something else? Like and so you sort of find all these things out over the course of the story and um I just enjoy a good Tessa Dare book every once in a while.
Yeah.
I'm not like latching on to her all the time, but she puts out some
No.
years.
Historical romance, especially like of that era, I feel like is great transitioner. Like I'm transitioning between books. I need something,
Yes.
a palate cleanser.
Like I'm just at a point right now where I'm like, I don't want to dive into like a deep fantasy. I don't know if I want to like go into a big romance series that's like already published. So this felt like a good, I don't necessarily need to continue this series. Like if one of the
You
other
could
books kind of calls to me, I'll go back to it. But it just
totally.
felt like a really good palate cleanse.
So fun.
And
Amazing.
the thing I like about these types of historical romances are they have enough like fantastical elements.
Mhm.
Like it doesn't feel real. Like this dad died and he left this legacy of this like fictional world that people are so
Yes.
attached to back in 18 whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and they're like living in this castle and refurbishing this castle. Like that just sounds so fantastical, even though
Yes.
there isn't a magic system or anything. It just sounds so unreal.
Yeah,
But it's a great like break.
totally. Sounds wonderful.
Yeah. What about you? What are you reading?
Um, so I just started today, Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green, his new book that came out. And you know, I love John Green. I'm listening to the audiobook on Libra FM. Go check them out. They're pretty cool. Yeah, I guess I'm not very far into it, so I'm only going to talk a little bit about it. But the premise is, I guess, John went to Sierra Leone, I believe it's Sierra Leone, and meets a young boy named Henry, which is also the name of his son who has tuberculosis. And then he goes back through the history of everything and shows you how everything is interrelated with tuberculosis, which I'm like, you had me at tuberculosis, John. You had me at tuberculosis. And he narrates it himself, so it's literally like I love the Anthropocene Reviewed, so I feel like it's a beautiful successor. So far, I'm really enjoying it. How could I not? It's John Green. What I will talk about briefly that I read that I know we both read. Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins.
Yeah.
I will talk about it briefly because we have a plan for a whole Hunger Games episode now that we have this in our meaty little groups. Holy crapola. This was a really good book.
It put me in a 3-week reading slump.
I was sobbing for the last 100 pages. Tears, there's tear streams on my pages. I was just ball
I was on a train when I was finishing the audiobook. I had the crescents of my nails in my palm because I was like, don't cry, don't do it, just holding so much tension in my body because I was going to work and I was like, I can't sob right now because I'm gonna walk into work and everyone's gonna be like, hell is wrong with you?
The Hunger Games book. They're like, didn't that come out 20 years ago? And you're like, no, there was a new
Last week.
First of all, thank God for the size. I could not do another Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. That was too long with not enough plot.
Even the audio of Ballad was too long. I could tell.
It just too much. Everything that I had issues with in Ballad, it felt like Suzanne heard and was like, let me fix. I hated the amount of songs that she had put in Ballad, and I because I finally watched the movie. I didn't even tell you this. I finally watched the movie for Ballad, Songbirds, and Snakes. Mid. That's my hot take. I don't even know if it's hot. It was very mid. I just don't think it's the best book. I don't think it's the best story. I feel like it's really just to give exposition, to give context to the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
But it just is let's tell you why Snow is the way that he is, which I'm like, cool. That could have been a novella.
Right.
That's my hot take. But the songs in this were so much better. I don't know if she got better at writing songs, but the actual lyrics spoke to me more because they're all still Covey songs, right? So they're all still traditional Covey songs. So it's not like it's from a different region in Pan Am or whatever. These just were so much better, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I really like them. Haymitch as a hero was really fun.
Mm-hmm.
To see the origin of the character that we know from the original trio.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And we get to see everybody in this stupid little book.
No.
When we get to, and I'm going to say it. If you haven't read it, it shouldn't be surprising because all these people exist in the Hunger Games trilogy.
You see all the people that were somebody was like, well, we know he wins. And people were like, spoiler.
I'm like, get a life.
Please get a grip.
Get a grip, girl. Get a grip, girl.
I made a comment on it on my TikTok, and somebody wrote in my comments, they were like, well, we know Suzanne writes unreliable narrators. And I was like, I cannot even entertain this comment. I can't do it.
What part of unreliable would result in completely lied about winning in that something that is in the history books?
And like lives in the victor's village and
He's the mentor for
the whole District 12 for years. For like 50
crazy.
years. Yeah, 50,
Crazy.
25 years. 25 years, sorry.
Which is also crazy in itself to think about how old Haymitch, and I'm like lusting for that in the trilogy. I'm like, I guess no. If he was 16, right?
Yeah.
He's 16 when he wins, plus 25 is 40 something.
Yeah.
I
43.
could do 40 something.
41?
I could do 41. The alcoholism, I don't know if I could do, but I could do 41.
Yeah. Anyway, I cut you off.
So, hey, I trailed off to talk about apparently my hard limits in dating. But this book was fantastic. Like getting to see Effie,
Oh,
getting to see Megs and Beatty and all the boys and all the Goyles was so wonderful. Even something as small as like because like obviously this book came out and then everybody and their mother was like, here's this connection to this and this and this and this. Right, like what's his love interest name? I can't even remember her name.
Lenore Dove.
Lenore Dove. Lenore Dove. Lenore Dove's aunt or uncle, somebody who's in relation, plays at Finnick's wedding, plays the fiddle at the wedding. And I was like, enough, you guys. This is too much. Like, let me lay down.
Please.
Let me lay down and rest for a minute, please.
Even though like, knowing that Katniss's mom witnessed Haymitch's reaping because she was friends with Maisie, and then we find out that Maisie is Madge's twin. Like,
and like to know that Haymitch was friends with Katniss's dad, and like I was like, you guys, enough, let me lie, let me rest. And just yeah, and like the whole sweetheart thing, I was like,
oh, rip my heart out, Suzanne. Just it would be so much easier.
She is too good at her job, and I don't like it. I admire her, but she scares me. She scares me. This book really had the same spirit as like the Hunger Games Catching Fire. Mm-hmm. Like it felt very aligned. We got to spend a good amount of time in the games, which is my preferred way that these books are written. Yeah. We got the beginning of the revolution, which is so fun to then see how it plays out. This was like, because I think I talked about this maybe in Victoria's episode, but I was a little nervous when they said they were making Haymitch that it was just going to be fan service.
Yeah.
This is so necessary. Yeah. This book is so necessary.
Like, we grew up with this like idea of Pan Am where the Hunger Games are a machine. Like they have their game makers, everything is well oiled, it's all super high tech, and like we know that the games change every year, and like especially once the movies were introduced and we could actually visualize it.
Yeah.
Then coming back to Ballad and really gaining an understanding that like the lifetime of the games is as long as only a handful of people in Pan Am have been alive.
Exactly.
But majority of people, like especially the older generations, watched these games evolve.
Oh, yeah.
Like they didn't start out as this super high tech like thing, and the Capitol was this like beautiful aspirational place that was so out of touch with the rest of Pan Am. Like that was an evolution that happened because of the Hunger Games.
Yeah, agreed. And like to see, because Pan Am feels so disjointed from where we are in our universe, to see it brought back to, I'm like, oh, this could happen in our world, is really, really fun. I'm gonna do a quick elevator pitch of this in case people haven't picked it up, because a lot of people are like, I'm afraid. You need to pick it up and read it. This book follows Haymitch, who is a young boy in District 12 who we meet in the older books. But he is working in the illegal alcohol trade, living his life. He has a little brother, and reaping day is his birthday. So he wakes up on his birthday and he's like, damn, not this again. And so he goes to meet his girlfriend, Lenora Dove, who he loves, who is a cubby girl, who is, he suspects that she is being rebellious. She's got her fingers in some pots, but he doesn't know quite what's going on. But he loves her anyway. And Lenora loves gooses.
Yes.
Geese. It's important to know for later. Reaping starts to happen. They call the girl first.
It's the quarter
quell. The first quarter, the second quarter quell, the 50th.
So there's double the amount of
thank you tributes
reaped.
Good. Yes.
2 of each gender, there are 4.
Yes, which is loco. So
instead of there being only 2, there are 2 of each.
Yes. So they call the girls. It's a young girl that Haymitch knows, and then it's a twin who ends up being related to the mayor.
A merchant.
Somebody
like gunning to be the mayor, I think.
Yes, because then it all comes back. And that's why whoever in Hunger Games decided to keep that storyline out of where Katniss actually gets her Mockingjay is sobbing.
Yeah, they really messed up there.
Really embarrassing. And then the 2 boys get called. Wyatt, who's like a statistician, like his dad puts bets on the Hunger Games, so he knows a lot about odds. And then this other boy who gets up and runs. And then all of a sudden, the televised portion of it gets delayed and stopped. They shoot this kid down as he's laying in the street bleeding. Lenora Dove goes to help him because he is a cubby boy. And Haymitch goes to intercept, and they hit him on the back of the head and say, okay, this kid's now dead. You are the new tribute for the Hunger Games. So an illegal reaping. Great. And this is like the first couple chapters, you guys.
Yeah, this is not, I would not consider this necessarily a spoiler.
No, this is just setting you up. So then Haymitch has to go into the games with all these people he knows when he knows he shouldn't be, and he's worried about his girlfriend at home. And then along the way, he meets all of these characters that we know and love from the rest of the series, and we see how his eventual winning of the games, spoiler alert, influences the rest of the revolution. This book is so good.
Oh, so good.
Anyway, that's that.
Loved it. In a really sick and twisted kind of way.
It just felt so nostalgic. Like I felt like I was 14 sitting in my room, like reading The Hunger Games for the first time.
Yeah. I had like a full flashback. I remember the first time I read The Hunger Games, I had been given it as a birthday gift, and it had just been like sitting on my TBR. I hadn't had time to read it, and then we had a massive power outage. And I was like, okay, now's the time to read this book because the movie was coming out.
Yeah.
I remember I have this vivid memory of curling up on my couch. It's like I was reading it the whole day. It starts to get dark. We have no power because like our power's out. And so I tuck this massive flashlight in the crook of my shoulder, and I'm like making a little spotlight for myself so that I can keep reading. And I ended up finishing it in like a day and a half because I had nothing to do. And one of the places near us that had power was Barnes and Noble. So I was like, hey, Dad, can we go to Barnes and Noble? There's this book I want to get. And
it's important.
And got Catch Fire. And I ended up reading the whole series because I think at that point all the books were out. I
Yeah.
read the whole thing in 2.5 weeks.
Oh, because that is
Like, oh, remember when? Like it was like you had to know what was happening.
it's such a visceral feeling if you grew up on the Hunger Games of the like I remember sitting in my office chair like I would read the Hunger Games and Catching Fire and then I'd go back and read Twilight and then I'd read the Vampire Academy and then I'd go read like I had this cycle of these books because I love them so much. So it was such a treat. It's like that thing where people like if I could read this book again for the first time, it
Like
felt like reading
Hunger Games.
the Hunger Games for the first time again. Like that's but it was a new story. I just like if you are at all a nostalgic little guy with a mushy gushy heart, you gotta read this.
Yeah.
You gotta read this. It's so good.
Yeah. Well, I think I talked about this a little bit on my TikTok. I think the thing that Suzanne does so well is
Yeah.
she knew that there was a story to be told. I think it was Victoria actually was talking on a podcast recently about how like there are some characters that the fans love, but the second you start to delve into what a story from them would actually look like, it's boring. Like it's not worth making. And Suzanne has crafted the world so well that yes, there are some characters that should not get stories. Like how we meet them and how we know them is how it should be. But she
Yes.
knows the people who will give us a greater understanding of the world she has crafted. And
Agreed.
it doesn't feel like fan service. It doesn't feel like a changing of the story. Like she deeply understands that original trilogy so
Yeah.
well to be able to have written these two prequel books.
And then it's like these nuggets, right? That you go back and you're reading like the original books and you're like, she knew.
You
She
know,
knew. And I'm like, that's for someone to know that early on in the book that's like, if this grows, this is all it could do is crazy. And good on her. I love her so much. Anyway,
no, that is it from us. Thank you
it
so
is.
much for listening. If you were watching us on YouTube, thank you, thank you, thank you. We are re-implementing videos on our YouTube channel for this season, so check us out over there. If you watched this episode, please, or listened, please hop over to our Instagram page and let us know on our latest post by leaving the paper that has the writing on it emoji,
Yeah.
like our designated book report emoji, I think. And
Yep.
follow us everywhere. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Give us a like. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform. We're on Instagram. I'm at Deirdre Rose Morgan on all the platforms. I'm posting on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube.
Yes. I'm DJ Books on Instagram and on TikTok.
And that is it for this episode. We will chat to you in the next one.
Bye.